Yeah, hello and welcome to another episode of the weekly Spielworxx chat season 2. My name is Uli Blennemann. Today I'd like to briefly present important mechanics of Tharos by Bernd Scholz. Tharos will go to Kickstarter on February 19 and it will be a 17 days campaign. Um, if you have questions or comments while I'm talking about the game, please post them in the chat window and I'll respond. And hello, Chris, and hello, Claude, which I'm just seeing in the chat. So, Tharos is a dice backbuilding game taking place in a steampunk universe, and it is for 2 to 4 players, ages 12 years and up. In the game, the players take control of a steampunk guild and they use their dice for actions, for mechanics. And to prevent the mechanics, I will use the Vessel online implementation of the game. And very important, all player cards, all public building cards in the physical game when it will be produced are backprinted. So one side is English, one side is German, as is the player mat, the cardboard mat. One side English, one side German. And of course, there are the player aids are both in English and in German, as are the rules. But here, later, the Vessel online implementation is just in English, but it is a dual language game. So let me see. But before I'm telling this, because seeing Chris over here, Chris has done a wonderful tabletop simulator online implementation as well, and there will be also a Tabletopia online implementation, and you will get a chance to play the game online, so either by TTS or by Tabletopia or by Vessel before the campaign or during the Kickstarter campaign. So you can see for yourself if the game is something for you or not. Okay, so let's move. Well, Kevin. So the next one here, which is so Claude is in Quebec and Chris is over in the UK, and Kevin is about 500 meters from me. So he's my in non-lockdown time. So we saw each other, I think, last time in December, early December, probably. So he's my local gaming tester, and he has tested the game in an earlier version, of course. So let's see. Let's go to Vessel. So what you're seeing here is the game setup. So in the central part here, let me enlarge this later a little bit, are 16 region cards. So they form a 4x4 square, and the cards are placed randomly. So basically these 16 central cards, they form the playing surface. And as you see, the game is played over 4 different game rounds. So here that would be the third round. And each of these 4 game rounds, each game round consists of 4 turns, which are over here. I'm getting to them a little bit later. So here in the top left here of the Vessel module, there is a deck of action cards. Let me move one over and enlarge this so that you can see them. And you see these are German and English, so on one side. So it's even a little bit larger. And okay, let me move these back. And to the right of the action card decks, there are the attack cards. So this is an attack card. And because the players have to ward off an attack by the trust, the planet Tharos has a trust each turn. So each turn there is a attack card placed over here, and they have various values. On the other side, on the right side here, are the round end cards. So they are used when at least one player was not able to ward off the attack by the trust. So let me just move it over. It's not placed here. Let me move it over here. So this would be an end of round card. And this one is a card that is pretty easy to fulfill, but there are stronger cards. Let me move another one over here. There the player would lose quite a bit. Then let me do this. Let me make this a little bit smaller again. Here you see some of the public building cards. So I place them over here. They are in yellow. So for example, this is the Secret Society. So in German language, the other side, the flip side of this card has German language, this German language text and illus. That would be the Geheimbund, the Secret Society. So they are placed here. Normally in the game, when an attack card has been placed, each player draws five dice, out of their individual player bags. So let me just do this over here. So each player has one of these bags and dice in there, and then normally there are some modifications, but normally you draw 5 dice. And let me just do this. Well, lots of white dice over here. So these are the 5 dice that you are getting. And then in turn order, each player conducts one action. And most of the time, one action uses one or more dice. So let us move down here a little bit to the player mat. So this player, that is a purple player, each player has one of these player mats, and as I said, they are also back printed. So the other side would be German. Let me enlarge this somewhat so that you can see it a little bit better. So what can I do with my dice? And here on this action space here on the left side, I can place up to 3 white dice, and I will then receive the sum of the dice values in coins, but a maximum only of 8. So even if I place 3 5s in here, why should I? Even 2 would be too much. Then I'm getting only a maximum of 8 coins. Or alternatively, I may take a colored die and will then receive half of the die value rounded up in coins. And what is important for all of the 5 white action spaces, so here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so these 5 here, I can use only one of the 2 halves. So either the left part or the right part. Meaning, let's say I've only placed 2 white dice here to get coins. I cannot later get back to this action space to get to use a colored die to get more money. That's impossible. And hello Dan and hello Daniel and hello Matze. I'm seeing you here in the chat, and thank you for your compliments on the art style. Art is by Harald Lieske, as normally in Spielworxx games. To the right, in this action space here on the left side, I may place a single white die, and then I will get half of the die value rounded up again in action cards. So these are, again, let me move this a little bit over. These are the action cards. So let's say I'm placing a white die with face value 6. I may take 3 of the cards, and then I may keep one of them, and the other 2 are discarded. On the right side, I may place a colored die and just draw 1 card, keeping it. And by the way, all of these action cards are beneficial. So depending, of course, on the game situation, some may be more beneficial to the player than others. So going to the action space below here, on the left part, on region, I may place, or I have to place, 2 dice, colored dice here, and then I may place one of my guild markers. So guild markers, each player has some guild markers. So this would be a guild marker, and these, by the way, are mine markers that I can place. Most of the time they are placed on region cards on the main board. So if I place 2 color dice here, I may place one of my guild markers from my supply on a region card that matches the color of one of the 2 dice placed here. So if I'm placing a green and a blue die here, I have to place the guild marker on either a green or a blue region card. So let me just remove it for a second. You see that these region cards have colors, so this would be blue and this would be green, so it has to be a corresponding color. On the right side, I may explore an area, and I use any one die here, and then I may explore an area consisting of 4 regions vertically or horizontally adjacent to each other on the main board that already have my own guild markers. These guild markers are then removed and I receive an exploration medal. So medals here are like victory points, so that helps me in a way. And I'm seeing, hello Mo. Mo is asking what weight or difficulty would you say the game is going on the BGG scale? Very difficult for me. Let me put it in this way. I think you have heard about the cost. So by some obscure Texan designers and published by an even more obscure German game publisher. It's definitely easier than the cost. It has the core mechanics. When it's your turn, you place 1 or more 2 dice. That's simple as always. What is difficult is how do I use my 5 dice? So for which actions? And of course I have to look what the other players are doing. Is it now the moment to build a public building? I get to this in a second or not. So but definitely I would say 2.5, 2.7, but I'm very bad at these. And I must admit, I never look at weight levels at BGG. So for example, for me, some war games which are very high in BGG weight level are easier to play and dig than, for example, a Lisboa. Although I think Lisboa is heavy on the BGG scale as well, but definitely less complicated, less complex than the cost, I'd say. Dallin is saying, yeah, well, it's a nightmare. Transit and by DHL these times is a nightmare. So I'm sorry that the game is still somewhere and sitting there. I think you mentioned it has reached New York, but is sitting there for a month or even longer. So nightmarish. Okay, it's in New York City. At least it's overseas. So I think I mentioned this at Twitter. There was a package to Australia. It was sent, and then the Australian person asked me, "Where is the package?" And DHL really showed that it's still at Frankfurt. But that was 6 weeks after it had been mailed. And this wasn't really true. It was already in Australia, but sat there, I'm not sure, at Sydney or wherever for several weeks. It's very, very, very strange, and it's too bad. Okay, getting back to these action spaces. Let's move to the central action space on the left side. And here, I may place one of my guild markers. You know them from over here, if I still have one. So I'm using 1 color die, and then I may play one of these guild markers on one of my active player cards that need them. So for example, this card here has a symbol, so you could play the guild marker over here. And the guild marker helps this card so that it can do something. Or on the right side, I could use a white die, and then I may re-roll any unused dice that I still have. So let's say the values, I can't use them. I'm allowed to re-roll, but it costs me a white die. So you have to see if this is a good thing or a bad thing. So getting back here to the last of the 5 white action spaces, which means I can place any die to purchase die from the die store. But doing so also costs some coins depending on the die I'm buying. So let's say I want to purchase a green die, I have to pay 4 coins, and then the die is moved to the dice depot for a second. So I can't immediately use it. Normally, there are always modifications, of course, to this. And on the right side, I have to place a colored die with die value 6, and then I'm allowed to place one of my mine markers on a region card. But I need a 6, and that's why it's sometimes important to re-roll or modify the dice values. Then here I may build one of the public buildings. Reminder, these are the public buildings. So you see the yellow color leads you to the cards. But in order to do so, I also need a yellow die. And the die needs to have a value of at least 3. Here, the exclamation mark tells you it has to be exactly the 6 here, because we didn't want to cram in another plus or something in here, so it is 3 or more. And building this public building costs another 10 coins that I have to spend. But then I can build it. And this would also give me a civic medal over here, so also yellow. This part here is special, because with it I don't have to use a die. I can now use a public building, and it just costs me, depending on the public building, some money here. This is different, and according to a building. And I can do this several times in a turn, so that's why this is separated from the rest here, so and in a different color. But I may also use dice to activate my player cards in the game. So each player, let me just make this a little bit smaller, each player has a deck of 10 cards, and they are always the same. So each player has the same cards. But to use them, I first have to activate them. And I'm activating them. Let's say I would like to activate this guy here. I have to use exactly 2 white dice, and the dice sum, the value sum, has to be 8 or higher. Then I may activate this card. By the way, in the module, it's you right click and then the cards are activated. The banker, on the other hand, he needs white die and yellow die, and the dice sum has to be 10 or higher. And if I have a card already activated, then I may later use the advantages. Some do not need dice, they are permanent advantages or benefits, and some need a die. So let's still look at the banker here. The bottom part, if this card is activated and I place a yellow die on it, I'm getting the amount of the die value in coins. So I could use this action space, and then I'm seeing, I need another 2 coins. So I could, if I have the banker already activated, and place a yellow die on here. So these are some advantages of the action cards. And let's say I do not have any dice left, because normally I start only with 5. Then I have to pass, and when all players have passed, the turn ends. During the game, and especially at the end of the game, I receive medals here in various categories. So for warding off an attack, for exploring, for trading in the game. So let me go back. each of these cards has also a crystal and an ore marker, so which I could get by exploration, by doing other stuff. So this is crystal and this is ore. So if I trade with these, then I'm getting one of these green medals. And this is for public buildings, this is a civil medal. And at the end I would get also points for sets. So this is not too good, because I just have one set of these 4 medals. This is just for attack, it's the same symbol here. Warding off an attack, by the way, is mainly done by red dice that I'm placing in here in this attack space. Of course, it's not allowed to do it from here. I need to have the red die already in my bag. So this would be not allowed. But I'm also getting some points at the end of the game for activated player cards. I get them for public buildings, for mine markers, and in a very small way also for my remaining money in coins. So let me just see what the chat is saying before I'm seeing. Yeah, my designer crop is a grind trunk was stuck at the custom. Yeah, it's nightmarish. Claude is saying that grind trunk journey was stuck at the customs for more than 2 weeks. Yeah, it is not good. Matt, hello Matt. Matt has having a comment, nitpicking, but it's a little odd. The cost on the cards is above the action, but the cost on the player board is below the action. Yeah, we were thinking of this, but it looks really strange if you have the on the cards here, if you have the costs down here. And you are talking about this. Normally you use this only once, and really it is not a problem here to have this in the other way than here, where the costs are here. So I don't see, but we were discussing this. And thank you, that won't stop me from being a day one backer. Now, knowing this, we will redo the cards and have the costs at the bottom too. Yeah, well. Yeah, and as Daniel is saying, it's an action and the cost to activate the card. Yeah, Daniel is saying this better than I could. This is only done once. Okay, so let me just get out of here for a second. And now you have to see me. Sorry for this again. Tharos, in my opinion at least, is a game that has very little downtime, because you are placing 1 or 2 dice, doing the action, and then it's another player's turn. But it's very varied. Of course, because it's a dice game and you're drawing dice. And like in all backbuilding games, of course, the more dice you are having, you are purchasing, the more you can do in theory. I need blue dice to activate these blue cards here. But first they cost money. And of course, my strategy may be that I need a lean bag of dice so that I get the red ones more often. So I think you start with 12 at the beginning of the game. Let's move them down. Yeah, there are another. And you see, you don't have, these are the remaining 2, you don't have any green or blue ones in your bag. But you can win, in theory, without blue and green one. But it's definitely more difficult because these are strong. And as I said, on a region, let's say you want to place mine markers or you want to place guild markers here, then without these dice it's very difficult to place your markers on the territory. So you have to see. But of course, if I'm just having 12 cards and they are 12 dice and they are already in the dice depot, then it's very easy when my drawback is empty, like in all of these games, then I just put them all in. I'm returning them, and if I'm having all 18, even if I have the 2 blue ones, as you know, experienced players, when are the blue ones finally are coming up? So this is, that's why I'm saying this game is extremely varied without being really complex. And of course, I also said this, many cards and actions allow the manipulation of die values, so you're not stuck with your ones or twos, and sometimes even low values are good. So let's say here it's only one to three, and here you can only use a 2 to 4. So it's not always that only you're not seeing this. Sorry, I'm stupid. So you're not seeing this, but now you should see it here. And the blue cards, you see that it's a 1 to 3 or and a 2 to 4. It's not only the strong cards and the strong dice. Sorry. All the dice are now poops. I smell sequel. Wombat dice. That's a good. Name for it. And of course, there's much more to discover in Tharos, and hopefully you will discover this for yourself. And as I said, just let me repeat this. This is a dual language game, so English and German, and this edition will also be produced over here in Europe. So do you still have some comments? Uli, Matt is asking, what was it about this game that made you interested in signing it? Several reasons. First, I'm fond of dice back building, so I like this mechanic. Of course, this is not the first game out there using this mechanic, but this one is on one hand, very straightforward, without too many special rules. And another reason is I like the haptics of dice games anyway. So I love to grab my dice, I love to roll them and then do something with them. But in some games there are too many random or luck elements when I can't manipulate them. In some it's so complex. I'm doing this. Then I rather play a game that is not about dice back building. And because each player has also their player cards, this is another element. So it's not only a tableau builder where you use the dice then to get advantages. So it has several elements without getting too complex. I hope that was a somewhat useful answer. Buying cards at half the die value, I assume that is round up. I think everything is round up here. And Daniel is saying it was originally about wombats. No, I don't think so. Bernd Scholz and wombats. No, I don't think so. Yeah, and Daniel is saying I love dice-driven action selection. I think this is the gist of it. So this is what it is. And another good thing in Tharos is that development moved along very well. So Bernd, when he turned in the game to me first, it had 20 player cards per player, different ones, and this was way too much because you had a huge hand of cards. Which shall I use? So downtime was way too much. But he then told me that he really started with 50 cards per player. So streamlining it and getting to the real core of the game, that was a lot of fun for me. And I think it scales well, so you can play it very well with 2. It plays well with 3 and 4 because the downtime is so low. Another aspect I did not mention yet, let's say Daniel is buying this public building here. He will get a point for this and a medal, but when this secret society, der Geheimbund, has been built, all players may use it. All players. So it's also, am I really allowing this? Do I want to do this just to get some more points? So and I'm still too stupid for a Twitch, so let me just show this. And so you see, Secret Society. This card can be built by anyone, but then later it may be used by It is built by one player, but anyone can later use it. So the costs for using it are 8 coins here, 8 coins. And but if another player has built it, then I have to pay 2 to him, to them. And so yeah, very varied game in my opinion. Um, yeah, it is definitely good with 2, and it makes me happy. Yeah, and thank you, Matt. It is the February the 19th. And Mo is saying yes, it is. It has wooden dice because it's produced, or it will be produced in Europe with rounded corners, and I'm a huge fan of wooden dice. I know that some people are preferring plastics, but I'm not fond of using plastics. Um, Maybe before I close this, I got some mails asking why just 1,000 copies. Because it is a Kickstarter game. Uli is now trying Kickstarter for the first time. Why have this restriction? The problem is, at this moment, it's almost impossible to produce a game in Europe and getting dice or other wooden pieces. So in Germany right now, it's almost impossible to produce a game because Ludofact will tell you it is between 26 or 35 weeks to produce it. And I don't want to have a Kickstarter that has ended and then have people wait for so long. So let's say it's 35 weeks, and then I need to ship it to the US, to US backers, which is another 6 to 10 weeks. So this would be way too long. And I don't want to go to China if I don't have to. Right now, there is a problem that shipping charges, shipping rates have been gone up crazily, so 3 to 4 times more than a couple of months ago, and it's very difficult to find an empty vessel anyway. So I'm very happy to stay here in Europe, but I already, for Tharos, I had to order all wooden parts in December because it takes so long and you can't get them. And again, I don't want to wait till the end of the campaign and then tell the manufacturer, please do me these wooden parts. So I had to do this in advance, and that's why it is only 1,000 copies in total, because I was too afraid to order more, or 1,500 or 2,000 or 2,500 sets, because there's a lot of wood in this game. It's not just 1 or 2 dice and another marker. It's a lot of wood in there, so this was too risky, because you have to see Spielworxx is small. So I have no idea how popular the game will be on Kickstarter, and I'm better be cautious here, and hopefully you understand this. Okay, if there isn't a final question, next week I will have another guest. It is Isaac Shalev, game designer, book author, and all around good guy. So we will talk about auction mechanics in games. So this is a very special topic, but I think it's also a very interesting topic, and I'm very curious what Isaac will tell us about it. And Isaac is one of the very few people in the convention, when there were convention, Chardonnay Mafia. So let's see, although for him it's before noon, I'm not sure if he's having a Chardonnay next week during the show. Yeah, Daniel is saying everything is an auction, right? Yeah, in a way, everything can be an auction, but no, we will have a tighter focus for sure. So, thank you for your time today. If you would like to see a special topic discussed or have a specific question in advance, please drop me a mail here at uli@spielworxx.de. That is uli@spielworxx.de. And till next week, bleibt gesund and Black Lives Matter. Thank you very much. Bye.